You're listening to Simply the Best Sports Take, the best podcast breaking down the best stuff in sports with host Sean Bingham. His takes are so good, he dropped the mic, but then you wouldn't be able to hear him, and that would suck.
Welcome into STB Sports Take, Simply the Best Sports Podcast. I am your host, Sean Bingham. We are on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Anchor Podcasts, everywhere you get your podcasts, we are there. Thank you for being here. I was absent for the last several days. I apologize. I missed 4 days of my podcast. I was in Hawaii, for those of you that saw the last one. Honestly, it was really fun to do a podcast from out there, but the sound was subpar. The video was subpar, and so I thought, you know what, I'm just going to wait until I get back. I should have done one more. I apologize. I will do my best to not have that big of a break ever again. Thank you for being here. Please subscribe to the podcast. Whatever platform you're on, please hit that subscribe button. I really, really appreciate it. And per usual, you can check the description for the exact timing at which I hit different segments, so you can skip ahead, skip back, get the content that you want. So lots and lots happened over the last several days. Tons of movement in the NBA. We're going to dive into all sorts of stuff about the NBA. But before we do, I have to gloat a little bit. And that is that I predicted successfully weeks ago, or at least probably 2 weeks ago, that Tim Tebow would indeed get a job with the Jacksonville Jaguars as a tight end. And he got one yesterday, signing a one-year deal. And this is no surprise to me. I called it from 2 weeks ago that this was not going to be just a workout. Urban Meyer was not just going to work out Tim Tebow. He loves the guy like a son. The guy's 33 years old. It's so easy to just tell him no if he's not going to sign him. And he signed him. Of course he did, because when you get a workout with a guy like that, it means we're going to sign you. So they signed him to a one-year deal. Lots of people up in arms about it. Des Bryant's been out of the league for a while, struggling to get a new job. Obviously, Colin Kaepernick. And so there's a lot of people thinking this is unfair. It's not right. This is strategic for the Jacksonville Jaguars for a number of reasons. One, Tim Tebow is from Jacksonville. He's a Florida guy. He went to the University of Florida. He's a Gator. And he's from Jacksonville. So they will create even more buzz around the team. They've got Urban Meyer as a first-year head coach. They just got Trevor Lawrence as the number one overall pick. And now they just signed the hometown hero, the hometown favorite, Tim Tebow. So ticket sales, jersey sales, concession sales, TV ratings, all of it goes up. Revenue goes up with the result of Tim Tebow. Don't kid yourselves. That's definitely playing a role here. Secondly, this is, in my opinion, most importantly, Taysom Hill and Sean Payton with the New Orleans Saints have proven that the same style of weapon that Tim Tebow was used as a freshman at the University of Florida under Urban Meyer can actually be successful in the NFL. Tim Tebow is not going to be a tight end for the Jags. He's not going to be a tight end at all. He's going to be a Taysom Hill-like Swiss Army knife. Every time he is on the field, it is going to take massive amounts of pressure off of Trevor Lawrence, because now the defense has to be all sorts of confused and aware of, okay, is Tebow going to get the run? Is Tebow going to get a handoff and throw the ball? Is Tebow going to get a catch? What's going to happen? It confuses the defense. It makes them double think everything, and it's going to open the field up for Trevor Lawrence. This is a huge, huge deal. Tim Tebow will not be used as a tight end. Don't kid yourselves. He's signing as a tight end, quote unquote, but that's not the position he's going to play. He's going to be a Swiss Army knife, a gadget, a jack of all trades. That's what Tim Tebow is being signed as, and that's what Urban Meyer used him as at Florida when he was a freshman. They had, I think it was Chris Leak was the starting quarterback. They won a national title that year. They won again the next year with Tebow as the starting quarterback. But his freshman year, he was like an H-back, got a lot of handoffs, had, I think, 30-something pass attempts, that entire time. And so Tim Tebow will not be used as a tight end. He will not be used as a quarterback. He will be used as a weapon of many jack-of-all-trades type of weapon. And I think that will take pressure off of Trevor Lawrence. I think that Urban Meyer knows exactly how to use him because he invented this, for crying out loud. And many thought that this type of weapon couldn't really succeed at the NFL level. Well, Sean Payton and Taysom Hill have proven that's not the case. Taysom Hill's a huge asset to the New Orleans Saints. I don't think you'll see Tim Tebow get that type of playing time, but I do think you'll see him used in that type of way. And I think that Tim Tebow can thank Taysom Hill. He can thank Sean Payton for him having a chance to re-sign here with the Jags years after playing in an NFL game. The guy hasn't played a snap in the NFL in like 9 years. 6 years ago, he had like a little preseason stint with the Eagles, but an NFL regular season, I think it's been like 9 years. It's a long freaking time, 8 or 9 years. It's a long, long time. So Tim Tebow, I think it's 8 seasons since he last played a real NFL game and 6 seasons since he played a preseason game. He's 33. He's clearly in really good shape still. That's not a surprise to anybody. Do I think he's going to be successful? I don't know. I think he'll play so minimally that he'll have flashes of being good. But the guy can obviously throw. He made it to the NFL as a quarterback and even won a playoff game at one point as a quarterback. So yes, he can throw the ball. Is he a great thrower? No, he's not. That's why he didn't last in the league very long. But he can throw the ball. He's a threat to throw the ball. He can absolutely run the ball. We know that. He's got heart like we've never seen before. The guy's a winner. So he'll bring a locker room presence. He'll bring some passion. I think he'll be almost like a coach on the field. I think he'll be almost a coach at practice. This could be a segue into a coaching career for him, for all we know. I see it almost as like a Udonis Haslem on the Miami Heat. Udonis Haslem never gets in a game, ever. He continues to sign one-year deals with the Heat. The guy's like 40 years old. He sits on the end of the bench, and he's really a coach at this point. And people do listen to him because he's a seasoned veteran, and he's a leader. And so do I think Tim Tebow is going to have that type of effect as Udonis Haslem? Not to the same extent, but yeah, that type of effect. That's the type of leadership he can bring. He'll bring passion to practice. He'll bring passion to games. He'll bring passion to film study. I think he'll be a mentor to Trevor Lawrence and to other guys on the team that are younger. I think he still has a lot to offer. I do. I think Tim Tebow has a lot to offer. All of the intangibles. And again, Urban Meyer knows how to use him. He knows how to use him. And he'll put him out there in different positions that are going to be super confusing to defenses. And I do think it will make Trevor Lawrence's job easier, especially as a rookie. So I think it's strategic for a lot of reasons. There's the financial reason with being the hometown hero. There's the Urban Meyer loves him like a son reason, kind of like the coach's son type of, it's not his son, but it's like a son. And so there's a little bit of that going on, I think, a little bit of favoritism, obviously. And then, of course, he can be a weapon in a variety of ways on the field to relieve pressure from Trevor Lawrence and to honestly make it more difficult on defenses to try and move the ball down the field. And I think he can be a leader. So those are the reasons Tim Tebow got signed, in my opinion. I don't think you're going to see him as a tight end. I think he'll be a jack-of-all-trades weapon. So keep an eye on that. He will make the squad. He's not just going to be he'll make the team. He'll be on the regular season roster. He'll be at games. You'll even see him getting on the field, I think, for a handful of snaps every game. I think you'll see Tim Tebow on the field for 5-6 snaps a game. So we'll see. Keep an eye on that. Okay, one more thing I wanted to brag about, being right about, and that is Richard Sherman, a all-pro superstar cornerback, has agreed with me that the Washington football team is the best place for Aaron Rodgers to want to be. For the same reasons that I said. Great defense, great offensive line, player-friendly coach, weapons around him. Aaron Rodgers should go to the Washington football team. It looks like he will not, though. He initially turned down, there were reports that he had turned down being the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Now, just this morning, I'm seeing reports that he's actually in negotiations to mend the relationship with the Green Bay Packers and will likely be the highest paid quarterback of all time for the next couple of seasons. We'll keep an eye on that. But I just wanted to say I'm not the only person. It wasn't my Washington football team fandom bias that was thinking that he should go to the Washington football team. Even an all-pro defensive back agreed with me, saying that's the team I'd want to go to if I was a star quarterback. Okay, we're going to talk a lot about Russell Westbrook now. Russell Westbrook last night gets triple-double number 182. The all-time record was Oscar Robertson's 181. Westbrook in back-to-back games goes for 181 and then passes him for 182. And last night he did it without Bradley Beal. They lose by 1, a very close game to a solid Hawks team. And with Beal, they win that game. They win that game. They're the 10 seed. I think you could see, if Beal was playing, you'd see them absolutely rise up to the 8 seed, which is where you really want to be as 7 or 8, because then you get 2 chances in the play-in. At 9 or 10, you lose that first game and you're done. So I think you'll see the Wizards are for sure going to be in the play-in game. It's just a matter of where they are within that 7 to 10 range. They're the most dangerous team of those 4 right now. They're the hottest by far. The problem is if Beal's not healthy, they're in trouble. But Russell Westbrook, and 2 games ago, I wanted to mention this yesterday, and I didn't get on the podcast yesterday. Again, I apologize. I'll be back on the wagon here. But he gets a monster triple-double, ties for the most all time. But he didn't just get the monster triple-double. He also hit the very clutch free throws at the very end of the game to take the lead. And then to top it all off, he gets the game-sealing block on a jumper at the buzzer. I mean, the guy is a monster. The guy is so underrated. He's so underrated. I mean, he's literally dragging teams to the playoffs. He did it with OKC when Kevin Durant left, and they didn't have anyone else come and join him yet for that first season. No Melo, no Paul George. It was just him. Drags them to the playoffs. I think it was like the 5 or the 6 seed. I think it was the 6th seed. This year, he's got Bradley Beal. They've been a little bit of a disappointment. They've been really hot lately. It's just a little bit late to where they're now just going to have to try and squeak in to that, one of those lower seeds, and I think they'll lose in the first round. But they should make the playoffs, it looks like. I think they'll make the real playoffs. I think they're hot enough that if Beal's healthy, I think they get through that play-in to be one of the 7 or 8 seed. But the guy, and a lot of people say that Russell Westbrook is a stat padder. Oh, he's padding his stats. Oh, he's doing this. Oh, he's just doing it for blah, 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 blah. No. I don't know if you're aware of this, but Russell Westbrook's record when getting a triple-double is 136 and 46. 136 and 46. His team's record when he gets a triple-double is 136 and 46. That's 75% of the time that he gets a triple-double, they win. That is a humongous number. This is not stat padding. This is leading teams to wins. When he gets a triple-double, they have a very, very good chance of winning. And he is doing unbelievable things this season. 20 assists, 30 rebounds, 25 points. Like crazy, crazy numbers that like nobody thought was possible. And I don't care even if he is trying to stat pad. Go let any other guy out in the league try and stat pad to that level, and they can't do it. It's not like it's easy to go get 21 assists. It doesn't matter how much you're trying to get assists. It doesn't matter if you're just cherry picking every last thing you can to try and just sandbag your way to more assists. Getting 21 assists is a huge accomplishment, and he does it regularly. And then to get 15 rebounds and 24 points or whatever to go with it, the guy is crazy. The guy is absolutely insane. I love Russell Westbrook. Sometimes he can't get out of his own way. He plays with so much energy. It leads to some poor shot selection at times, leads to turnovers at times. He hasn't, developed a great jump shot. He's a pretty average shooter. He's a below average outside shooter, and he's an average jump shooter from mid range. But he can get to the rack. And I love the passion he plays with. I like him a lot. And this leads me to Ja Morant's comment. Ja Morant, the other day said that he was a top 5 point guard in the league, which kudos to him for feeling that way. Confidence is key. I think that's important. Ja Morant is a rising talent, but he's a top 5 point guard. My initial thought was no way. But then I thought, well, let me just name a few real quick. It took me about 7 seconds to name them. I made a whole list here of guys, and it's actually not very long because Ja Morant is really good. But Steph Curry is obviously the best point guard in the NBA. A lot of people say LeBron James is a point guard. I'm going to say LeBron's not a true point guard, even though he kind of is. I'm going to say he's not, and so I'm not going to put him at the point guard position. If he was, he'd be ahead of Ja Morant as well. But Steph Curry, Damian Lillard, those are two absolutely better than Ja Morant. James Harden, I think, is a true point guard, and so I'm going to put James Harden as the 3rd best point guard in the league. Really, I would maybe put him ahead of Dame. It just depends on the day. Those two are pretty close. But those 3 are absolutely better than Ja Morant. CP3 is better than Ja Morant. Kyrie Irving, I know he and Harden are on the same team, but they both are pretty interchangeable. I think they're both pretty much true point guards for their careers for the most part. So I'd put Kyrie Irving as better than Ja Morant. Russell Westbrook, I'd actually put Russell Westbrook ahead of Kyrie Irving if I'm being honest. So I put Westbrook as 5th, Kyrie Irving as 6th. Mike Conley I would put 7th, and then I would maybe put Ja Morant around the 8th spot. He'd be right there with some other guys like De'Aaron Fox and whoever else. But Ja Morant is a really good player. I think he's not in the top 5. I think Russell Westbrook is in the top 5 at the 5th spot behind, again, Curry, Lillard, Harden, CP3. I'd put Westbrook right there at 5th. So those are my top 5 point guards in the NBA. Okay, now we got to talk about playoff seedings and standings and scenarios, and it's all sorts of crazy. The Jazz lost last night to the Warriors. They're still a game and a half up of Phoenix. And Steph Curry, the Jazz had a great comeback, and then Steph Curry hits that late 3. He was actually shot really poorly from 3, but the guy, this is the stat I saw, Steph Curry is only 77 three-pointers back of the all-time record for career threes, including the playoffs. Ray Allen, of course, holds the record. So career, regular season, postseason, combined three-pointers, he's only 500 He's only 77 back, having played 599 games less than Ray Allen. That's the rate at which Steph Curry is just drilling threes. Pretty remarkable. Got the Jazz last night with a late one. He was only 3 of 13 from 3, but that third one was kind of the dagger. Gave the Warriors the lead with like 15 seconds to go. And then we end up missing, and he gets fouled. We have to intentionally foul. He hits both free throws and seals the game. So the Jazz are now 19 and 15 on the road. I don't like it. That's still the 6th most wins on the road. There are teams that have fewer losses with like the same number of wins. So win percentage, they're actually down closer to kind of the middle of the pack, honestly, on the road. So they're certainly not poor on the road, which Kendrick Perkins, with his ice cold take, said that they're like an average mediocre. Or no, he said that he did not say that. He said they're a lottery team on the road, which obviously they are not even close to that. But they are just barely above average on the road. They're barely above average on the road, but they're phenomenal at home. So they have a game tomorrow night. The Jazz have a game tomorrow night against the Blazers, and that is a titanically important game against the Blazers for a couple of reasons. One, we got to keep that game lead on the Suns because the Suns own the tiebreaker against the Jazz. If the Jazz want to hold that 1 seed and have home court advantage, which we just talked about how good they are at home and how kind of average they are on the road, home court advantage will be very, very important for Utah. So they want to hold on to that 1 seed. They also want to avoid having to play Clippers, Lakers, Suns, whoever early in the playoffs. They want to save that for Western Conference Finals and just have to go through one of them as opposed to through 2 of them, right? So holding on to the 1 seed is really important to the Utah Jazz. So they need to win that game against the Blazers for that reason. The second reason they need to win that game against the Blazers is the Blazers are in a battle with the Lakers for the 6th seed. The Mavericks are for sure going to be a 5 or a 6. It's locked up. They will not drop into the play-in scenario. The 5 and 6 could be interchangeable. You could see the Blazers rise to 5. You could even see the Lakers rise to 5. You will not see the Mavericks drop below 6. But those 3 teams are kind of in a battle, and it's really Blazers and Lakers that are in a battle. And beating the Blazers would drop them a game and give the Lakers a chance to rise above, because it's the same scenario with Lakers and Blazers as it is for Suns and Jazz, and that is that the Blazers own the tiebreaker over the Lakers. So the Lakers need to finish a game ahead of the Blazers. The Jazz need to finish a game ahead of the Suns, and I think it's very possible, given the remaining schedules. I think LeBron will come back tonight against the Knicks, and I think they will win. I think LeBron will sit tomorrow night against, I think it's the Kings or somebody, and I think they will still win without him. They had a monster game out of Anthony Davis the other night. I think you'll see the Lakers turn it on. They're talented enough that they will turn it on. I think they know they need to win games right now. And while I actually don't, this is where it gets interesting. The Lakers very well might prefer to be the 7 or 8 seed so that they don't have to play the Clippers in the first round with the 3-6 matchup. There's a good chance that that's actually what they would prefer. But I don't know if they have the guts. I was going to say the balls. I don't know if they have enough. I don't know if they've got it in them to choose to drop to the 7 or 8 and then risk not even making the playoffs because of a play-in scenario. Because what if they lose the play-in and you don't even make the playoffs? You don't want to risk that. You want to have a full 7-game series, right? I think they firmly believe that in a legitimate 7-game series, if healthy, they can beat anybody. And I believe that as well. I do. I hate to say it. I know they've been playing poorly. I know that they're dinged up. But if LeBron and AD are healthy, I don't want to play them as a Jazz fan. I don't. They're better than us. I'm sorry, they are. If healthy, they're better. They just are. Now, they're not healthy right now. So this is where the Jazz need to take advantage. Keep the 1 seed. Make the Lakers and Clippers battle it out. I think in the current standings, the way the teams are currently sitting with injuries and things like that, I think the Clippers win that series. And then it's the Clippers versus the Suns. And I don't know who wins that one, but I love our chances against either of them with home court advantage. And the only way that happens is if we keep that 1 seed. So big game against the Blazers tomorrow night for the Jazz. And remaining schedules. This is a big deal. Remaining schedules. So here's the Mavericks' remaining schedule. At Memphis tonight, then versus New Orleans, versus Toronto, at Minnesota. Pretty easy schedule. Good chance they go 3-1 to finish off the season. I think they keep the 5 seed. So I'm going to say the Mavericks are keeping the 5 seed. Next one. We've got the Blazers. Blazers are at Utah tomorrow, very difficult game. At Phoenix the next night, very difficult game. And that's a back-to-back too. Then they have a couple days off, and then they play Denver at home, also a very difficult game. There's a decent chance that the Blazers finish the season 0-3. There's a very decent chance. At Utah, at Phoenix, and then Denver at home. Very decent chance that the Blazers finish 0-3. I think 1-2 is a best-case scenario for the Blazers, okay? Then you go to the Lakers. Lakers have New York tonight. I already said I think they're going to win because I think LeBron will play, and it's at home. Oh, it's Houston that they play tomorrow. Then they play Houston tomorrow. Very winnable game. I think you'll see LeBron choose to sit that one. It's the easier of the two teams. He's not going to play both these back-to-backs. No way. So he's going to choose one or the other. I think he'll choose to play against the Knicks, and I think they win. I think he'll choose to sit versus Houston because they can win without him, and I think they will. Then they play at Indiana, which I think is very winnable. And then they play at New Orleans, which is very winnable. That's also a back-to-back, though, and so we'll see what happens there. That New Orleans one is the last game of the season. They will likely have been eliminated from contention at that point. So maybe they sit certain guys to avoid injury. I doubt it, but maybe. They might be having a chip on their shoulder trying to ruin seedings and things like that. But there's a good chance looking at that schedule that the Lakers finish 4-0. So again, you look at this, Lakers' schedule is lined up for wins. Blazers' schedule is lined up for losses. So we'll see what happens there. But I really think that the Lakers, I think they're poised to move ahead of the Blazers for the 6th seed. The Jazz are poised to stay ahead of the Suns for the 1 seed. In fact, let's look at those real quick. The Suns' remaining schedule is, got it right here, at Golden State tonight. Back-to-back for Golden State. They just played Utah last night and won. That's a bummer. Very winnable game for the Suns. Back-to-backs are tough. The second game of a back-to-back, look at teams' records throughout the history of the league. The second game of a back-to-back is a very likely loss. Let's just put it that way, especially when the teams are evenly matched. So good chance that the Suns win that one. Then they play Portland. That's a huge game. Huge game. I don't even know who would want to win that one. I guess we'd want Portland. But really, as long as the Jazz keep winning, they should be fine. But then Golden State, then Portland at home, then 2 games in a row at San Antonio. San Antonio is in the play-in scenario as well. And so they're going to be they're going to be jockeying for position. Right now, they're the 10 seed. They wouldn't mind having the 9 seed because the 9 seed means you host that first game. So I think you'll see the Spurs wanting to win both of those games. I think they'll lose at least one of those. So I think that the Suns probably go 2-2, I'm going to say. I'm going to predict the Suns go 2-2 to finish the season. And then the Jazz, looking at their remaining schedule, they have Portland, which we mentioned, then at Oklahoma City, very winnable, at Sacramento, very winnable. I think the Jazz finished 3-0. I do. I think the Jazz finished 3-0. So I really do believe that with the schedules the way they are, I think you will see the Jazz as the 1 seed, Suns as the 2 seed. I think you'll see the Clippers as the 3 seed, Denver the 4, and then Dallas the 5, Lakers the 6, 7 seed would be, I guess it's the play-in scenario. Probably the Warriors will end up getting that one because I think they're the toughest team to beat there. Maybe the Blazers get the 7. That would be an interesting little scenario there with the play-in. But that'll be the other 2 teams. It'll be the Blazers and the Warriors, 7 and 8. I don't know. They're kind of interchangeable. But those will be your 8 teams in the playoffs. So the Jazz, they need this. They need this. Like, they're not better than a healthy Lakers team. I'm sorry, Jazz fans. We're not better than a healthy Lakers team. We might not be better than a healthy Clippers team, if we're being completely honest. And if you look at the regular season, I think we're better than the Nuggets. I think we're better than the Suns. But the records might say otherwise. Our head-to-head against the Suns is not good, 0-3. But if those teams, Suns, Clippers, Lakers, if they have to battle it out amongst each other just to even get to us, that's what the regular season reward is to be the number 1 seed. You get to avoid the most difficult teams, the worst matchups until the very end. And so we'll have to play one of them in the Western Conference Finals after they had to go through 2 difficult series just to get to us. So that's where the Jazz need to stay as the 1 seed. I really hope they can do it. Going to be keeping an eye on the games. Huge Jazz fan. Again, I'm sorry, guys, for going silent for a few days there on the podcast. Thank you for being back. That's it for today. Please subscribe. I am out. Peace.
Thanks for hanging with Simply the Best Sports Take. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast and check out stbsportstake.com. Simply the best in sports.